I have recognized that the entire human species, for the most part, is discarnate. Discarnate. That means the majority of people on the planet right now are not in their bodies. They are somewhere else, but they are not here. We live in a trauma world, culture, trauma society. We are all fish in water to trauma. And we cope to this trauma in different ways. We typically cope to this trauma through denial, avoidance, distraction, workaholism, escapism. That's the reality of the circumstance in which we live. There is a reason why I am so focused upon the shadow in these videos. It's not just because I'm a gothic person that likes to wear dark clothing and likes, shadowy types of things. The majority of us continue to live out the rest of our lives as wounded children. And we don't care about healing, and we don't care about transformation, and we don't care about shadow work. We care about escapism, denial, and running away from the darkness that's too hard for us to digest, and so we leave it to the very few and far between. I see majority of people running around in their parents' energy, doing what mommy and daddy told them to do when they were aged 2 years old, up until the day that they die. There's no rite of passage, there's no graduation of leaving that conditioned world, life, that was taught to us by our parents, our bosses, our teachers. And this is a generational imprisoning complex. We have lived generation upon generation of discarnate, disassociated, workaholic, codependent, narcissistic, escapist, in denial, human species. Folks, there's going to be any point in time where you're feeling fed up, you've had enough, and something needs to change. Holy shit, I hope it's now. It's now or it's never. I can't begin to articulate my disappointment in my fellow brother and sister, my fellow peers. Honestly, most people don't give a shit about anything outside of their little bubble, their little fantasy. That's it. We live our life to preserve our little bubble, the majority of people on this planet. I have heard so many people talk about the future, the age of Aquarius, the new culture, the new society, and we get to build this and we get to create it. And if there was an actual opportunity to create a new life, a new structure, a new society, and that actually showed up and greeted you, you would fucking deny it. The majority of people out there. Hey, we're bringing back an indigenous shamanic culture, and if Mr. Shaman showed up, you would reject what he or she would say. The shaman could show up and have all the magical tools, and you would reject it. Nobody wants to do the work. Nobody actually wants to make change. It's been 10 years of doing these videos. I've done these videos for 10 years. You know where it's gotten me? More isolated than I think most people can comprehend. The lack of support that I've received is unbelievable. The tool and the work to decondition, and no one gives a shit about it. People give a shit about their little apps, their little newspaper horoscopes, these shitty YouTube channels. People don't want to do the work. The work that I do between clients is life-changing work. There's a before and an after in this disassociated, discarnate, wounded children running around without their heads reality. Does anyone want to do it? Does anyone want to pick up this work? Or is it literally going to be just me? Even the ones that show up for all the curriculum. It's amazing what I'm learning through this experience. I'm learning about the human species. I'm learning about why people behave the way that they do. And it's amazing. I need to make a shout out to my ex-partner, Mackenzie Alexander. She is one of the only people who supported me doing this work. There would be no Rasa Leela healing if there was no Mackenzie Alexander. Not anybody in my family, not any of my friends supported me the way that she did because she saw the potential. And you know what? In the 10 years that we were together, we used astrology to do more shadow work than what I see anybody out there doing. And we transformed and we evolved and we matured in ways that are hard for other people to fathom. I have no regrets to the intensity, the depth, and the challenges that we both experienced. It was hell for a long time. But coming out of that frying pan now, I see that it was all worth it, even though I'm alone. Completely. Generations upon generations of trauma. Being conditioned. I mean, that's the work that we did together. We went into our shadows. We followed our own challenges to the very core. Very, very challenging work when you start to look into your shadow and all of those things that you were pointing the finger at outside of yourself. You're suddenly starting to see those things inside of yourself. That's reality. We're too busy being perfect in ourselves to look at our own shadow, and we wonder why all this abuse is going on between teacher and student at these New Age workshops. This is delusional people signing up for abuse, and that's the other thing that I got to bear witness for. All of this standing up for the victim, all of this defending. People want to be abused, to be taken advantage of. People want to spend their entire lives in prison. I watch people have the choice, and they choose it. The majority of people on this planet are choosing prison. There's no reason to do this. The tools, the technology, the psychology, we could be stepping into the future. If we're not recognizing these things in ourselves, we're fucking clueless. And there's a lot of clueless people out there. They're pretending to be witches and wizards and fairies and dakinis. There are more so-called witches out there using that term to describe themselves that would hunt an actual witch if they actually met an actual witch. People are absolutely terrified of reality. Are you kidding me? A lot of these New Age retreats, it's escapism, it's denial, it's avoidance, it's let's run away from fill in the blank. So we need to recognize these dynamics in ourselves. It's not the end of the world once we recognize these things, the way so many people just pretend their way through life and expect everyone else to reinforce that pretend imaginary bubble. And that's what being nice is. Even this political correctness, do you realize that a lot of this political correctness, it has nothing to do with human rights. It has everything to do with being high class. Like fucking rich people with a silver spoon in their mouth. It's got fucking nothing to do with human rights. It's all just lingo and language and dressing the right way and sounding the right way. It's more denial, escapism, and bullshit. People project all this horse shit onto me that astrology is confirmation bias and it's just a random personality generator, as if you actually tried astrology, you know you can't make this shit up. Are you serious? With the timing, the accuracy, the articulation, it is undeniable. If anyone were to take a scientific approach, which nobody does, because even these so-called scientists are just religious followers of Neil deGrasse Tyson and are going to believe whatever the Pope of science believes. It's blind fucking faith. The actual usefulness of astrology is to map our shadow, to map our unconscious, which is the same as to map our lifetime of healing, because our life is going to be all about healing if you have any awareness at all. And if you think you're healed, you're perfect, you're done, you're oblivious. I haven't met any inspirational teacher or healer that thinks of themselves that way. We will find the greatest gifts in our shadow, but this is where we have to do the deconditioning work of breaking out of prison. Because the prison of Western culture, American dream, is this enabling of shadow behavior, running away from reality to create these fantasy realms. So for example, the number one is workaholism, right? Western culture, American culture, are you serious? It's all about being a fucking machine. And that's what mommy and daddy taught us to be, a fucking machine, to be a fucking robot. And then we give ourselves these invisible gold stars and pats on the back, where workaholism is sincerely like having a dozen fish hooks in us, pulling us in different directions. Look at how accomplished I am. Look at how much of an achiever I am. Aren't you proud, mom and dad? Does it look fucking crazy? Because it is. Everyone on this planet's fucking insane. The amount of zombies walking this earth is hordes of them. Narcissism is when people think that they have the whole of reality contained in themselves, and then they're disconnected, not making any contact with anybody. It's not real. It's total fantasy. This is what we're dealing with as a species. It's not just one or a few people. It is everybody. Every single person on the planet at this particular point in time is healing from lifetimes of severe trauma, whether or not they want to be aware of it or not. We've all been limited, constricted. We've all been isolated, in prison-like environments, in prison-like hierarchies that are oppressive, that are like slavery. Let's do something about this. This is about the time to step up. This is about the time to roll up our sleeves. What is it that we want to see in the world? We're going to have to create that ourselves. Because I already know other people certainly aren't going to hop on board until there is an example, and the proof is in the pudding. You know, we all have to roll up our own sleeves and do this. There's hidden blessings to our suffering and hardships. We have an opportunity to do the work that people who have it easier will not do. It's actually harder to do the soul work if you have that silver spoon in your mouth. The majority of the New Age movement is fucking crazy. The majority of people into the New Age movement are not doing work. They are children who are taking that free ticket in the fantasy world. And I am being sincere. It really is like that. I mean, I look at the astrological community. Is the astrological community progressive and revolutionary and changing the world and society? Or is it a bunch of old-timers doing PowerPoint presentations at one another? I mean, these so-called master astrologers that look like Merlin and have like trophies that they're receiving at these major conferences, I'm being sincere. I've met them. I've worked with them. They're fucking amateurs. The majority of the astrological community is fucking amateur, dissociated, not really helpful. We're talking about shit that's way out there, and the proof's in the pudding. Nobody's getting it. Nobody's taking it. No, I'm not going to take it. No, I'm not going to try it. Too much accountability. That's how it is. Nobody takes it. Nobody wants it. I'm doing this shit alone. My life is unbelievable. If I were to actually go through the story of my life, the abandonment, the betrayal, the heartbreak that I've experienced, it is a tragedy that is unbelievable. People would not even believe me. It is such a waste of my time. And I have wasted so much time, y'all. I'm surprised I'm even doing this video right now. But I'm doing this video because I must have some sliver of hope that you are out there. Someone who actually cares, someone who's actually doing the work, and someone who actually wants to use the gifts of our current time to be able to push these things forward, to evolve our species and evolve our humanity, because we can. We have the power, we have the capability, we've got the map, we've got the compass, we've got the flashlight. I look forward to connecting more and more with those who are on my wavelength, those who are doing the work. And it's not just astrology, there's plenty of other medicines, there's plenty of other perspectives. I look forward to getting to meet and hear back from you.